Give me a little count. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's your man Carl, DJ Mr. Byrd, and I'm one half of the Codex Prime podcast. And welcome to a very special Codex show where we will be interviewing the one and only artist and inker, Mr. Scott Hanna. How you doing, sir?
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed your panel yesterday so much, especially like the art about inking. I didn't necessarily know like how important inking was to the comic industry.
Yeah. Well, one of the weird things is I think Brett Breeding mentioned that what the public sees is actually the inked work. The pencil work actually gets erased, or if it's a blue line, then it just gets covered up or whatever. So our touch is what makes it what you see, and especially when I've been on books like Batman or Spider-Man where I've been on for long terms, I'm the guy that's kind of quality control for Marvel or DC, that they trust me to make sure the webbing looks right, or the eyes look right, or the spider symbol looks right, or the bat symbol looks right. That was my job as the inker.
Right. So out of all the characters that you have worked with, because I'm sure I know you work with pretty much every single one, which one is your favorite ones to actually ink?
Well, ever since I was a kid, my two favorite characters were Spider-Man and Batman.
Awesome.
And still, they're my favorite characters. So, like, you never lose that 12-year-old little boy thing, you know? And fortunately, through my career, I've worked on both characters a lot. But Spider-Man, actually, I've probably done more Spider-Man than anybody else, and I love the character. I mean, it's just a really fun character. The movement, the cities, the cityscape, the villains. He's got some of the best. Actually, Batman and Spider-Man have the best bad guys. You know,
they do,
and that's part of the fun of them. Is that it's not just the character is good, but their opponents are really fun to draw as well.
Exactly. Now, and you worked with a plethora of artists as well. So we're there. Excuse the announcements. By the way, we are live at Comic-Con. So, are there like specific like artists that you enjoy working with, or also artists that like I'm having a hard time inking their work?
Well, I have actually a lot of artists that I love working with. I love working with John Romita Jr., who I'm working with right now. Mark Bagley I worked with for a long time, also a good buddy. Tom Rainey, a really good friend, as well as a super talented artist. So if you get a not just a working relationship, but a friend relationship, that's always a super bonus. A couple other guys, David Finch, phenomenal artist, love working with him every chance I get. Ivan Reyes, phenomenal artist, love working with him every chance I get. And the ones that you don't like, you just don't tend to repeat working with, you know? Like, so I might do like a one shot with somebody, and sometimes even if they're two talented artists, you don't necessarily click, or you don't have the same vision. So there have been a couple times where I try to read the pencils and try to do the style, but one artist I remember, he wanted me to change his style. I'm like, why are you giving me this if you want me to change it and make it look like something? Like, he wanted an image look, but he wasn't penciling like an image penciler.
Right.
And I can ink like image if you give me an image look, you know? But so we didn't end up working together just because we weren't on the same vibe, you know? But that happens.
I gotcha. So then with inking, I noticed that, would you say like the old style is maybe dying down? Because I noticed like a lot of artists are, converting to a much more digital format.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the great thing about digital is digital can replicate traditional inks very, very well. And you can add things like gray tones and values in the computer. So a lot more people are doing that. Like, I do a lot of painted work where I will do gray tones or shadows and stuff, and now you can do that digitally with no problem, and it looks really cool. So yeah, I think the new generation of kids is going to be working almost entirely digital. The downside of that is that the fans no longer have artwork to buy, and so I don't want to do digital because I like to have printed pages that I can actually sell, that the fans can collect.
Right.
And the cool thing is that because fewer and fewer people are penciling and inking traditionally, the ones who do are going to be even more valuable because it's going to be rarer. So that's one of the reasons I've still kept to traditional. I have computer setup at my home, but mostly I do that for corrections or sketching, not for the finished printed work.
Now, also jumping back and forth to the traditional and digital, are there any type of tools traditionally that you would like to that you can recommend, or actually any digital apps that you also like to use?
Weirdly enough, my digital app that I mostly use, Photoshop was the standard that we use for coloring and stuff. But my favorite one for drawing in is actually, oh god, I'm going blank. It used to be called Manga Studio, now it's called Clip Art Studio.
Okay.
And that's actually very well formatted for comic books. It's got really good inking lines, very good pencil. They can even do word balloons and everything on that. It's a perfect setup for comic book artists if you want to use Clip Art Studio. Traditional tools, I still use quill pens that, like a 102 Crow quill pen that you dip into an inkwell. I still use Winsor Newton brushes, but when I travel, I actually frequently use Zebra brush pens, or I use, this is actually a Pilot double-sided brush pen, which I love traveling with, because it acts like traditional tools, but I don't have to have a bottle of ink that I can spill all over the place.
Now, see, with ink and tube, now, do you necessarily have to adapt to the penciler's art style, or
you don't have weirdly enough? So I consider myself very adaptable. I've worked with I don't know how many different artists. I've worked with a lot of different artists, and I try to adapt my style to the individual, but it depends on the circumstances. Like one time, I literally was hired by an editor, and they said, Scott, I don't want you to look like the guy inking himself. I want you to give your take on it. So the editor told me to do my thing, not try to be the inking himself type of style. Other times I've been told to look exactly like somebody when they ink themselves. But I think when we were talking about the panels, sometimes you get breakdowns or layouts from a penciler, and then I consider it's up to me to do whatever style I feel like. So I might make it brushy if it's the fitting, I might make it very angular. I fit the character, the story, as well as the style of what I'm doing.
Awesome. Now to wrap this up, are there any type of projects that you can tell us about coming up?
Unfortunately, I'm working on this phenomenal big project with John Romita Jr., who I worked with for years on Spider-Man and other books, but I can't talk about it yet. It's not coming out till next year. It's going to be a monthly. It's a really, really super big project. We're doing some of the best stuff of our careers. It's just stunning work. It looks gorgeous. The writing is phenomenal, but I can't tell you the title yet because it hasn't been officially released by Marvel.
And I see the excitement in your eyes.
Yeah, as soon as I go home, I'm going to be working on it. It's fantastic stuff. Like I said, not out till next year though. So they're probably going to be releasing it probably maybe Christmas time or beginning of next year. Okay. The news at least. But yeah, it's some of the best stuff we've ever done together. It's phenomenal. I also just worked on Daredevil, Superman and Batman for DC. I'm doing an independent graphic novel called Core. So yeah, I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
Awesome, man. I'm looking forward to that project already. Like just the excitement in your eyes.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you, but you would have had an exclusive. But I can't tell you yet.
I tried, people.
I'm mum.
I get it. So tell the people where they can find you on social media or any websites.
Okay, on Facebook, I'm Scott Hanna. You can look me up on there. On Instagram, I'm Inker Scott. I really don't use my Twitter too much. The other thing you can check out is my school is afiartschool.com, where I actually teach classes in everything from painting, basic drawing, sequential art, and inking classes. So, and I do that Zoom classes as well as in-person classes if you're in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was an honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Codex Prime, Code Extra, everybody. Peace out.